Hi, Desiree here with Soulpath Astrology and this week's Astro Energy Report and 3-card tarot spread. I am your intuitive counselor here on the channel. And if you're new, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are returning, hey, y'all, it's always so lovely to have you and your energy in this space. This has been an interesting week. I'm excited to talk to you about what's going to go on for the energy this week. June is like as a generality, June is a little bit of a respite from what has been a very intense year so far. It's not to say that there's nothing going on or that there isn't going to be some crunchy, challenging bits. It is, however, a little bit of an opportunity to exhale, to regroup, to revisit some of what might have started at the beginning of the year. And you're getting an opportunity now to reassess and see if what your trajectory was aiming towards is still correct for you. It's so important to take time to reset and to check in. Like, don't just set it and forget it when it comes to your dreams and your hopes. It's so key to be so present and to keep consciously returning to the self, to your gut instincts, to how's your body doing, baby? So, with that, let's jump into the Astros this week. June 1st. So, yesterday, I'm recording it on the 1st today for me. But for you guys that are getting this video tomorrow, this was yesterday. Mercury ingresses into Cancer. So, when Mercury is in Cancer, Cancer is very nurturing, it's very maternal, it's very warm and emotional. So, Mercury, when it's here for a little bit, maybe you're going to find yourself talking about your feelings more. Maybe you have better capacity to articulate your emotions. Maybe part of your journey right now is learning to speak up for your emotions. Maybe you're a little bit like me and you were deeply conditioned to think your feelings or to speak about them after you've already processed them. For me, it's actually very scary to just be upfront and open and like sharing my feelings live time. So, that may be something that comes up for you if that lands for you too. Really giving yourself permission to just be present with what's arising rather than always just presenting a finished product at the end of the day. Intimacy is into me see, right? It's sharing what's actually there and inviting others to vulnerably share what's inside their milieu, using discernment. We can't hold space for others with any real skill set if we haven't first learned to hold space for our own emotions. So that's huge. If you are going to share your feelings, be mindful of who you do that with. Maybe choose a professional or a coach, somebody who's adept and experienced at holding space for their own big feelings and just big feelings generally. So that might be going on this week with Mercury moving into Cancer. June 2nd, Sun sextile Saturn. This gives like Virgo vibes. Saturn is very controlled and regimented and structure. So with the Sun sextiling him, sextiles are it's a more of a softer aspect. So it's positive. It's like an easier movement. So maybe you do come up with some boundaries around your time that allow for you to have more of your emotional body, have some space to breathe. Again, referencing my life, it's been super hectic and busy the last couple of weeks, and I'm feeling that in my body that it's taking a bit of a toll. And so I am needing to be more deliberate, more Saturnian in carving out some space for my feelings and for nothing. Carving out actual space that's not planned and it's just allowed to like stare at the clouds or watch paint dry or whatever it is that I'm needing to just decompress. This is just as valid, just as important, just as valuable as production is or productivity. The no thing and the creating spaciousness for your emotional body, so important, so nourishing, so important, so key. Yeah. And then on the 4th, Mercury, which is in Cancer, as we said, it squares Neptune and Aries. When this energy happens, sometimes what can happen is maybe you'll be presented with something that's too good to be true, and it is. Neptune can blur reality a little bit. Maybe you have an opportunity being presented that's not as good as you thought it initially presented. Like, so what I would suggest is you don't make any major decisions this week. Allow things to bubble up, allow there to be ample spaciousness for your emotional body to have space to stretch out. Recognize that this is a great time for creating some healthy boundaries, but also really like be aware of that intersection where dreams meet reality and where sometimes we can get lost in a fantasy. This first week of June is really like, yeah, there's some movement, there's some deconstruction going on. There's, like I said, an invitation back into your feelings, and honor those, because later in the month things are going to pick up again. And so this is like, when we were, for any of you that were moms of babies, they used to say nap when your baby does. That's kind of like what this week is. And as tempting as it may be to just like get your chores done while baby is napping, and if you have resources for that, then fine. But if you're tired, if you are feeling like, man, this year has been like kicking your ass a little bit, if you're feeling a little bit space cadetty, if you've been feeling maybe just like there's been a lot of opportunity for combat, right? Because we have had a lot of Aries energy. We've had a lot of like standing for what you believe in. This week is like a week of respite from that, and just like soften into that Mercury in Cancer energy of just like, speak up for your feelings. That would be my theme for this week. And I'm actually going to use that as a story to tie into something that happened with me. So while I was on my vacation to BC, I had through Expedia booked a hotel in Clearwater. And as I was coming through Merritt, which is like, I want to say 2 hours from Clearwater, I was just like hit with this enormous sense of like, I'm so fucking tired. And I'm doing the math and I'm thinking, man, it's going to be like damn near midnight by the time that I get into Clearwater. And I'm not even sure I can drive through the mountains. Like, I'm tired. And so I call the hotel and I say, hey, listen, I see that I'm going to supposed to be arriving in town after your checkout. And the lady was very sweet. And she's like, oh, that's okay. You just call us 5 minutes before and we'll come down to the desk. I'm like, or what if we just cancel the hotel? I know that Expedia says that that's not a thing, but I'm talking to you. Can we do that? And she's like, oh, absolutely. If you want to cancel your room, that's no problem. You just have to contact Expedia, because I literally can't do it on my end. It's blanked out on the computer because you went through a third party to book it. I'm like, okay, great. So I reach out to Expedia, explain the situation to them, that I've already spoken to the hotel, that they've given permission to just waive it all. The guy at the time that I spoke to is extremely friendly. He's like, I've got this for you, fam. You're good. So then I went ahead and booked the other hotel room that I stayed in Merritt. And if you follow me on Facebook, you can see a little tour of that little time capsule. Anyway, fast forward to 2 or 3 days ago, I noticed that the Clearwater Hotel had in fact been charged on my credit card, which began this whole process of trying to get this refund, and the hotel and Expedia playing hot potato with whose responsibility it was, and it trying to fall on my shoulders of, well, so sorry, ma'am, we can't help you. I know this isn't what you wanted, but it is what it is. And this is what I mean about advocating for your feelings, because my initial response was to be combative and basically tell them all to pound salt. And then I realized, what if I come at this from a human? So Cancer is very emotional, it's very human perspective, and just say, like, from one small business owner to another, this is to the hotel directly. Like, I'm sure that this, because this is giving lack of integrity, lack of trustworthiness vibes. I'm sure that's not what you're wanting. So can we please resolve this? Because I'm sure it's resolvable. And I would really love to find a mutually beneficial conclusion to all this. And, I'll spare you guys the details, but literally it was 2 full days of back and forth and emails and screenshots and going on. And in the end, happy ending. I got my money back. The hotel didn't get charged commission from Expedia, and Expedia was still trying to blame the hotel. Anyway, whatever. At the end, it was like, we got what we needed and it was a happy ending. And that's the energy, like advocating for your feelings. I don't want to feel like I'm being left holding responsibility for something that's not my fault. I don't want to feel let down by the hotel. I don't want to feel like I've been screwed over by Expedia, right? Sharing how what was going on internally while also inviting in collaboration and grace, operating under the assumption of that people don't want to screw me. And this was going to fall into our card reading actually now that I'm speaking. So I'm going to stop the story right there. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to invite us in just to a brief moment to connect with our breath, and we'll do the card selection, and then we'll get into the reading because it's a really nice little segue. So let's pause together right now. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes. Otherwise, just like soften them. Coming home to your body, letting your shoulders drop from your ears, your brows soften, your jaw unclench, your breath to fill your whole body. Knowing in this moment there's nothing you need to be doing and nowhere you need to be going, and nothing you need to be doing except being present now. When you're ready, I invite you to blink your eyes open and select from this week's cards 1, 2, and 3. I'll just let them be here for a minute. 1, 2, 3. Okay, if this was your selection, card 1, the Hanged Man. So this is all about changing your perspective. This is where maybe you often get hung up on something, right? The other thing about the Hangman is there's a quality of like he's relaxed. Like, yeah, he's hanging in a tree, but like his posture is very relaxed. It also kind of looks like a 4, right? So this can be about shifting your boundaries, shifting your structure, shifting your perspective, switching it up so that you can break out of the box. 4 is a boxy number. So it's very stable, but it can also be stagnant. And so when the Hangman arrives, maybe there's an invitation here for you about where do you get hung up on a particular perspective that's actually keeping you stuck? For example, if I had been hung up and stuck on my initial knee-jerk reaction that both Expedia and the hotel, the Super 8 in Clearwater, by the way, amazingly friendly staff, highly recommend, even though I didn't stay there. They worked their bags off for me to get my money back. So like, anyways, had I just stayed stuck on this idea that these two entities were just in it for themselves and had no desire to actually meet me in some sort of reconciliation, I would have approached my communication from that perspective. I would have had nothing but that for wording, for energy, for like the shape of the outcome. And instead, I gave myself permission to change my perspective and to approach it with more humanness, with more softness, with a plea, with a call from a vulnerable place, because I need that money. Like to just have it disappear for no reason would have been really challenging for me. And so I was really grateful that they did issue it back to me. And so the Hangman is like that. Where might you get stuck or rigid in some ideas that need a change of perspective or a change in approach so that you can have a different outcome? Another theme that's been coming up a lot that this might point towards is control. Where do we have control? Where do we don't? The serenity prayer comes to mind, right? Like, grant me the courage to change the things I can, the serenity to accept what I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. And this is so huge. So maybe this is something you can take with you as you move forward into the week. If you want a reading, you know where to find me. Link to my calendars below, all that yada yada. Kate, card number 2. Let's carry on. No, this is card number 2. The 9 of Swords. Some might say this is the worst card in the deck. This is all that shit that keeps you up at night. It's all the sad feelings, all the worries, all the anxieties, all the what ifs that point towards negativity. But if you look closely, the tips of all the swords have been cut off, which is to say that all of these worries, all of these anxieties aren't sharp. They aren't actually necessarily going to come to fruition. And this sort of ties into that first card. Maybe what's needed is a change of perspective with respect to the default setting. The human brain has a default setting towards It's a bias towards negativity. This was something that was developed to save us from calamity, right? I mean, to be focused on what might kill you can be a valuable skill set, but now we're evolving into moving out of our focus on what might kill us, which is this stuff, into what might support us. What creative endeavors can I pour myself into? It's a mindset shift that we have to cultivate consciously because the default setting is towards negativity. So can you start to condition yourself when you catch yourself feeling hopeless, when you catch yourself feeling depleted and full of anxiety, can you pause and stop and arrive for yourself? Play the what if game, but in the other direction. What if it's even better than you thought? What if it's even easier than you imagine? What if it's fun instead of scary? You know, things like that. What if it just turns out a whole lot better than you thought it would? What if you start setting that up as your what ifs when the what if the worst case scenario is keeping you up at night? Hang on a second. I have to pause this because Yara's under the desk and she keeps bumping and it's driving me nuts. Hang on, I'll be right back. I feel like I let you guys in on so much of my real life here. So I didn't get a chance to walk Yara yet today, and she is like next level. Okay. Anyway, final card. If this was your selection, this is what you've got. The Three of Pentacles reverse. So this shows up when maybe people aren't being team players, or maybe there's a lack of skill being demonstrated. There's also a quality of like grinding gears. Like if you're trying to work collaboratively, again, to reference the hotel Expedia thing, like Expedia is really, really putting a wrench in the communication and like sticking with protocol and policy and just was like super unwilling initially, excuse me, to work with the humanness of like what was being asked. So maybe that's what's going on if this was your card. Are you the wrench? Are you the one that's fixated on policy and procedure? Or is maybe something going on in your life that's feeling that way? And can you find a way to use, because upright, this is about learning and it's also about like synergy, like working together collectively in a way to create bigger and better results. It's also about teaching and learning. There's like a bit of a mentorship kind of energy in it. Reverse, it's like maybe you need to return to a learner's mindset. Maybe somebody in your group needs to be invited back into a learner's mindset. Can you find a way? Like maybe you're initially like, rah, right? But can you find a way to like common center yourself? Recognizing that that person who or entity like corporation or whatever situation that's frustrating you so much, maybe there's a way to approach it that can invite it into dance, that can invite it into collaboration. I mean, sometimes there's not, right? I mean, sometimes it just doesn't work that way. But if this was your card, there is that invitation, to acknowledge that gears are grinding, that it's uncomfortable, that it feels frustrating. Like, yes, true. And is it a lack of skill? Is it a lack of correct, maybe could you approach this a little bit differently? Maybe it's a coworker and they actually literally are in a position they shouldn't be in. They are lacking a skill set. Maybe you're lacking the skill set needed for a particular position or project. And this card is like, hey, you know what? Maybe you need to take some time to assess that and actually learn some new things or invent, not invent, but like acknowledge that there's a deficiency and get to work correcting the deficiency. Threes also can speak about communication. So maybe there's something here. And actually, with Mercury moving into Cancer, maybe there is an opportunity to revisit, because it's reversed, your communication style and adjust your language a little bit, that rather than pointing towards what you don't like or what's not working or what you're finding fault in, is there a way to adjust your language to point towards what you're wanting more of or what you're wanting to create, what you're wanting to move into, rather than being focused on what you're wanting to move out of? Yeah, so we'll let that one land there. Same thing, you want a reading, you know where to find me. Last but not least, our nugget of love for this week. What wants to come in? Oh, it's collaboration as soon as. So follow your joy, communicate your needs and wants, and recognize that when we work together, we can many hands make light work. And allowing ourselves to release a little bit of our need to control or our need to be the boss, and instead surrender to or relax into more cooperation, more collaboration, trusting that if you speak what your needs are, even if you have a long history of that not being safe, right now there's we are being supported into speaking. And I don't mean emotionally vomiting on other people and demanding that they make you feel better. I'm talking about taking radical self accountability for your feelings and for your needs by voicing what it is that you need to feel safe or to feel good. And if that's not externally available, then absolutely you need to intrinsically, get in there and offer yourself that support. That often does begin by pausing long enough to actually identify how you're feeling and identify what you would need to feel supported or to feel loved or to just feel witnessed. Sometimes it's enough just to be witnessed. So I hope that landed. If you want help with any and all of that, if you'd like a deep dive personally into your astrology, into your tarot cards specific just to you, I would love to do that. You know where to find me. In the meantime, my sweet and beautiful Soul Path fam, please do like, share, subscribe if you haven't yet. And as always, know that I will see you next Tuesday. Bye for now.